So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today and taking time out of your busy schedules. Sorry, I've never really used a microphone before, so if it does that. Today, obviously, is really nice to do an in-person event. I've never done this for the last 2 years. It's really nice. Really today, we hope you come away with some really valuable insights, but ultimately we hope you learn how to turn data into customer value. Just to introduce myself, my name is Sarita and I'm the Commercial Director of Consult My App. And for those that don't know who CMA are, we are a mobile marketing agency. We work with brands such as Pure Gym, General Motors and Thai Banking to essentially optimise their mobile app performance. And we work across the entire customer lifecycle from acquisition through to post-acquisition, retention and lifetime value. So when our partners, Mixpanel, Iterable and mParticle asked us to host today, we are more than happy. So we speak about on a regular basis and love to talk about. I have with me D, or Ryan Nelson, but we call him as D. He's our Head of Data and BI at CMA, and he'll be leading today's fireside chat and panel discussion. So onto the agenda, we've got a ton of content to cover off today, and as I mentioned, D will be leading a fireside chat, and he'll be joined by 3 incredible brands. We've got Nando's, Tottenham Hotspur and Resident Advisor, and they'll be talking to you about their experience in building a sort of best-of-breed martech stack and how they're currently leveraging that today in regards to delivering a digital-first customer experience. Then we'll be moving on to networking roundtables, and that's where you obviously break off. You'll be able to sort of have some really open and honest discussions with your industry peers and hopefully share some opportunities and challenges that you're facing today to gain some really valuable insights. Then we'll be moving on to my favourite part of the event, some drinks and nibbles. And you'll be able to network some more, hopefully see some really nice views of London. And then we'll be event closed, so we've come to an end. So I've obviously rudely just introduced myself and CMA. Let me introduce, obviously, the other partners hosting today. First, we have Mixpanel. I'm sure you've all heard of Mixpanel, but for those that haven't, they are a product analytics solution, and they provide the tools for product teams to analyse the how and the why users engage, convert, and also retain, all in real time to improve the customer experience. Then we have Iterable, a market-leading customer engagement platform, and they empower marketers to create, optimise, and measure every sort of interaction a user takes throughout their customer journey. Then we have mParticle. mParticle make it really easy and to capture customer data in a holistic way throughout the product and, again, customer lifecycle. So, this picture is messed up. Really to set the scene and why we're here today, we're here to talk about Frankenstacks. So what's a Frankenstack? We refer to a Frankenstack in regards to legacy systems that possibly could cause data silos, lack of personalization, even things such as gaps in the customer journey. So, in order to thrive in this new digital economy, you need to be operating in a digital-first way. And that's, with speed and agility, just due to the nature of technology these days. So how would you go about doing that? How would you go about breaking the silos, empowering your teams, even mobilising your resources? Enter the modern-day martech stack. So platforms such as Iterable, Mixpanel, and mParticle, when they are used together, they're better. They provide that solution to brands. They provide that solution to brands to leverage in terms of real-time data and insights to then be used to, export powerful analytics and then deliver a really personalised digital experience. And this slide couldn't have been put better together. It really summarises how brands can gain from that all-inclusive solution. So they can maximise the value of data, deliver a personalised customer experience, and build customer trust. So I hope all of that gives a good summary of today. I'll hand over to Dee now, who will be starting off the panel and delving into all this in more detail. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nelson, or Dee, as Rita said, and I head up the BI and analytics practice at Consult My App. So I work with these martech platforms day in, day out. So really helping businesses build data warehouses, BI solutions, and basically maximise the value of the data stored across the entire stack. So I'm very excited to be here with three of our key partners in the martech space. I'm really excited to hear how some of the biggest brands out there are embracing digital transformation using best-in-breed tech stacks to deliver truly meaningful digital experiences across all digital touchpoints and devices. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to our panel for this evening. Miguel, Adam and Simon, thank you for joining us. We'll be talking about your sort of customer journeys. So I guess if we start off with some introductions, Miguel, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming today. Thanks for inviting us. My name is Miguel. I work in Nando's as a technical lead on the engineering team. I was in Nando's for 3 years almost now, and I'm in charge of 4 product teams at the moment. In charge of the loyalty team, Nando's ID, which is in charge of all the customer interactions, customer profile. We hold at the moment 14 million users that we need to maintain, keep secure, making sure they authenticate and authorize against our applications and APIs. And I work very closely as well with the customer engagement team. I'm the tech lead on that team. And as well, the data lake and data and insights team as well. On top of that, I was involved on setting up the whole infrastructure for Nando's last year. That's me. I do quite a few things there in Nando's on the customer-facing teams. I'll pass it over to Simon.
Thanks. Hi, hey everyone. So I'm Simon. I'm a resident advisor. For those of you that know what resident advisor is, I won't explain, but for those of you that don't, it's a large electronic music platform. So if you ever go to a club night or you want to know what's going on, you go on there, check out what's going on. You can buy tickets. We've also got a big editorial platform, which is known as like the broadsheet of electronic music. New York Times. I'm Chief Product Officer there. We've got a couple of million users who are active every year. We're a global company. And over the last year or so, I've been really focusing on how we talk to our customers, how we work with our customers. The company itself is about 20 years old and has been always been digital. So there's a lot of kind of legacy Frankenstacks around. There's quite a lot of kind of interesting problems and challenges to solve there. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello.
Always like mentions. Got me in? Hello. Adam Griffiths, CRM and marketing manager at Spurs, which is normally where I get booze. Miracle I'm still there because we have been waiting this moment for a very long time. We use a very old CRM, just coming off a very old CRM solution called Sports Alliance that is a specific CRM solution for football clubs, which makes no sense. Moving to this kind of new technology world with all 3 of the partners that are here today. I am now in the new digital and growth team at Spurs, which we seem to be recruiting people every single day, which is great. We obviously have to power a lot of what we're onboarding here. So very exciting time to be at Spurs. We have a brand new stadium, so all of you have seen that. And there's a lot more we can do with this new technology to power that stadium, as well as to power kind of the fan, across the globe. So lots of new stuff to come for any Spurs fans.
Thanks, guys. So firstly, I think it's fair to say we've got 3 big iconic brands here, all with different scenarios, different challenges that are unique to your own businesses. Having gone through your own processes, you've ultimately arrived at the same conclusion, the need for a best-in-breed tech stack to help achieve your goals. So if we start by talking about how you got there, that'd be really good. So Adam, do you mind kicking us off?
Yeah, I'll keep rolling. So as I said, we have Sports Alliance. We're just kind of migrating on Sports Alliance at the moment. It's a miracle that this was all signed off by the board I'm grateful every day for that. So we use Sports Alliance at the moment. We are coming away from that towards a kind of new technology world where we, don't just have to run with nightly data drops, which is kind of how we work at the moment. We can't power real time, anything. We can't do banner baskets emails in the current world that we're in. It's quite scary. So we are moving away from that towards, mParticle, Mixpanel, Iterable, using all three, allowing us to be able to power real-time data, behavioural activation, allowing us to really understand our customers digitally. We don't get any web data at the moment, we don't get any app data, that will kind of live separately, we can't delve into that. We're now able to do that as we start to onboard these platforms. The beauty of this for us was that, and I kind of guess when some of you go to, we need a new ESP, we need a new CDP, you have to look at your contracts and where they lie, and you onboard a new ESP, but what does that look down the line when you might want to change CDP? For us, we had a blank sheet of paper. We took a decision about a year and a half ago to kind of mirror our Sports Alliance database alongside Google BigQuery, which means that if we turned off Sports Alliance, we had all that historical data, and we could then start to plug in Ticketmaster and print out on all our kind of retail data feeds into mParticle. And so we kind of sat down, Jason and I, and said, what does best in breed look like? What do we want? How do we get real-time data? How do we get payroll data? And that's when, obviously, we made decisions to choose these three partners today.
Brilliant, thank you. Miguel, how about yourself? Where did it all start for Nando's?
Sure. I think that's what Nando's is before, but I can explain what Nando's is before. I guess you know, right? So we are a food chain here in UK and Ireland. It's originally from South Africa. We have around 500 restaurants in UK. So as you can imagine, we have lots of data, right? So we have data coming from the kitchen. Every time someone does something, an event is coming into our data warehouse, right? So we have like millions and millions of events happening every day. So when I joined Nando's, the customer engagement team was responsible to build those campaigns. We saw that we were doing all the stuff manually, right? It was very, very manual job. We have a Microsoft SQL database somewhere there in the cloud, but one of our premises that we were basically with really limited capacity to do what the marketing team wanted, right? We were doing really basic campaigns like, let's send the 10 million, 14 million customers an email about their chilies. We were moving and taking like months and months, to try to get the data in the right place until we got the CSV file, we imported it, clicked send, and cross fingers, right? That's it. That was our data journey for Nando's. And we started thinking, okay, we could do this better, right? So we took a similar approach to move all the data to our Google Cloud. We work very closely with the Google guys, and we use BigQuery as the main data warehouse. We orchestrate all our infrastructure around that. But we were missing one part, right? Which was the real-time bit of it. That's where mParticle came into place. mParticle was great from that point of view in terms of ingesting real-time events and acting based on making them operational, right? So this is our journey, more or less how we start in Nando's. Again, very basic stuff at the beginning. And now we have all these tools around us, Iterable and mParticle, that basically open the door to do exactly whatever we want, right? If we want to do interactions with the user when they enter the restaurant, we are capable to do that from the tech point of view. But it was a tough journey. It took quite a long time to tell, to convince the board, right, of directors that mParticle was the right tool to use at this point in time, and we had to change the CRM, the campaign tool, right, for Iterable. So those things take time. But I'm glad we are here. We're going to tell a bit more about it later. Anyway.
Cool, thanks, Miguel. And then finally, Simon, how did it all start for you?
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know. So with Resident Advisor, we kind of, as I mentioned, it's a very old kind of 20-year stack. What we found is the world we were in, we knew some people were coming to the magazine and reading that and newspaper, some people were buying tickets, some people were looking at event listings, and we could see all that from like an aggregate point of view. But we had no idea about specific customers and like how many people read our editorial and also bought tickets, how many people didn't. And then kind of that was the world that we were in before. And to get to a kind of more detailed, deeper level, what we needed to do is have this kind of Mixpanel style analytics solution to see a single customer and what they're doing. Have they got the app? How often are they coming back? What are they doing on our platform? So we got to that point with Mixpanel, and then it's like, cool, we now know this, but we need to activate it. So Iterable was the next logical step. So kind of similar to Spurs, we had some very, very basic emails that were like mail blasts, no abandoned basket emails, really, really archaic sort of setup there, where we were kind of sending essentially the same thing to everyone in London every week. With Iterable, we're working on essentially personalising that experience, using all the data that we're collecting from Mixpanel to help inform what we're doing here, and just set this up as kind of a step that way.
Cool. Thank you. Alan, so when you look to the market, I'd be interested to know what values you drew from these three particular platforms in terms of how they could contribute to delivering personalised customer experiences for Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, God, if I COVID, I'm still getting used to my phone again. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We because we had that kind of like piece of paper, we went out to market, right? We saw everyone, we saw segment, we saw every ESPN and stuff. We spoke to all of them kind of with an idea towards kind of direction we want to go in. Certainly, as the guys touched on the Mixpanel side, we weren't getting into the analytics anywhere near or what we wanted to get into. We weren't tracking web events, putting them into the data warehouse, into CRM. We weren't tracking app. Mixpanel was going to allow us to really get into these core actions, to really understand what key actions are for our fans, create new cohorts, pass that into mParticle, fire up through Iterable. So it's a really powerful tool. mParticle, it was an easy decision. Mixpanel was an easy decision. mParticle was an easy decision too. That turned me off because I didn't like that one, the journalist. With mParticle, they integrated with everything that we wanted to use, whether it's movable, like whatever it was, whichever endpoint we wanted to touch on, mParticle integrated with it. It was a massive win for us. We also have a lot of, because of the archaic nature of our CRM, we also have a lot of IDs that don't really talk to each other. We need to create one unique identifier that brought everyone in together. So, with like an SSO ID, we have go through them, loads of different IDs, and mParticle will now give everyone a unique identifier that we can use and then push through into Iterable. Really powerful tool. I really also like the user interface with mParticle. I feel like anyone, we're going on a big recruitment drive at the moment, I feel like anyone, whether you're an exec or a manager, to come in can use that platform, and it was a big win for us. At Iterable, Mike's not here, so you can tell me this, but I always wanted Iterable, so Mike he could have ruined it for you. But yeah, they integrate with Digio, which is the platform we use for data capture. The big win with Iterable for us is that we did season ticket renewals yesterday, and we have to do batch sending. So my team sending out 50 emails because we have season ticket holders with shared email addresses. So if you have the same email address as your two kids, we have to batch that 3 times. Whereas with Iterable, in a couple of months or in the next run out, they're going to allow us to not use email as the unique identifier, so we'll be able to just hit send and it will send them all off in one go, and that was a massive win, a really, really big one, so that don't happen. Otherwise, we're probably how that comes out. But yeah, so yeah, it's really, really, really powerful tools, and when we wrote down best in breed at the start, all 3 of them were pretty close to the top of what we wanted from where we were, so yeah, very exciting.
Very good. No. And Simon, Miguel, when you're looking for your solutions, what about these platforms gave you the confidence that they would help achieve your goals? Simon, should we start with you?
Sure. So I think the first thing that we did is we actually looked at the kind of all-in-one solutions, so where you tried to get all these 3 different solutions in one, and they're very pretty and they have nice marketing materials, but when you kind of dug into it, it didn't actually seem like they had the same depth of features, and it wasn't, you kind of do a couple of bits, but it wouldn't actually solve the problems long term. It would just plug the gap. So we then looked we prioritized which one we needed first, and kind of as I alluded to before, the analytics was like our big problem because we didn't know what we didn't know. So we kind of chatted. Mixpanel is just like, yeah, it's good. Like, have a play. I'm not selling Mixpanel, but it is. I'm a product person, so obviously love it. From there, we kind of chatted to the market to see who would make sense as like a messaging provider. We again spoke to a number of different people. We settled with Iterable because which hopefully we didn't settle with them, because their kind of technical ability to really kind of change and really kind of configure absolutely everything was a lot more in-depth. Some of the other solutions out there, kind of a little bit easier to use potentially from the old Iterable UI, new one's great. But the kind of what you're actually able to go and do and configure for a lot of our much more kind of niche use cases when we've got 2 apps, 3 apps and all sorts of things going everywhere, it's really useful to be able to build our custom data structures, do what we need and really kind of configure it for any dream use case that anyone comes up with.
Yeah, from our side is very similar, right? So I was involved on the vendor dealing initially with Iterable and other vendors. The beauty is in the details, right? So the stuff that we saw in Iterable, for example, is that they were talking our own language, right? Technical language. All the customer profiles are stored in a JSON. We can store all type of profile attributes against that user profile. And we know that will give us the flexibility we were looking from the tech point of view, right? There is not going to be any limit, right, in the future. There's a limit, we'll pay for it, but the technology is there, right, to use it. So yeah, this came from, again, going back to the data, right? We used to use a lot of BigQuery, modeling the data in BigQuery, using a tool called Dataform and DBT to create basically model all the customers who purchase this and make this event. But the thing is, we came into a problem, right? How do we identify those customers, right? That's why mParticle came into place, where we can link them by email address, unique identifier, customer, and even the loyalty card as well, right? Those are the main 3 identifiers we use in mParticle. mParticle wasn't in our mind. To be honest, we didn't know. My manager told me, "Hey, what do you think about CDP?" Hey, I talked with this guy from mParticle. Okay, let's talk about them with them. So yeah, it started, and they don't really generate the need, but they lead us the way, right? The way to make best use of your data and make best use of the real-time data, especially, right? So for us, mParticle is the to-go for real-time. That's it, period. If we need anything in real-time, we should go to mParticle because we can orchestrate it to different tools. At the moment, we use Google Ads, Facebook Ads, Iterable, we're in place at the moment. We are deploying it, but we're quite happy on how is it going. And again, it's all about data, right? It's all about, these things are about moving data from one system to the other, right? Let's not be fooled by a nice UI or by anything else, right? The UI are great when the marketing team needs to go there and use it, right? But before going to that, there's lots of work that needs to happen. That's where the Iterable guys were quite honest as well about that. And mParticle as well, given all the connectors and SDKs available in the market, and they were quite nice with the rate limits as well. So we could hit the mParticle API, hammer the mParticle API, and break it, but it won't really affect us, right? Economically, this is one of the things we really like, to have this flexibility. So I said, we've got tons of events, we've got tons of data and we want to have that flexibility in the future. At the moment, we are like just playing Legos, where you just put all the blocks, building blocks there, and making sure the marketing team is aligned with you so they can use those building blocks to build those campaigns, right? So we're going to talk a bit more later about the future and where do we see these tools coming. But this is essentially what we were doing the last year, putting all the pieces together so the marketing team and the business can react quicker to the demand from the customers, right? So if there's a chicken gate because we don't have chicken, whatever, so we need to communicate the users as soon as possible, right? We're going to spend 1 week, trying to get that data. So I'm talking about this kind of issues, right? Or if we have a GDPR request or right before forgotten request, we can go through all the different product teams to try to figure out where do they store customer data. We just want to press a button in mParticle and move from there, right? So these are the things that are needed, right, in an enterprise level business. So yeah, this is where we start and where we are at. We are fully with mParticle. We're in the process literally now with Iterable. He convinced me in 30 seconds to use Mixpanel earlier, so that's our story.
Thank you very much for that. So we've spoken a little bit about how your digital transformation journey started and the importance of having a best-in-breed tech stack for your businesses. I'd like to now touch on the future, talk a little bit about your vision and what outputs you're expecting from these technologies. So yeah, let's start with you. What experiences would like Nando's to deliver for its customers?
Yes. So as I said, it's more real-time interactions with our customers and more meaningful communications to them, right? The moment where just blasting an email to everyone, blasting an email maybe to someone from loyalty, that's it, right? So we want, you're a vegetarian customer because you made lots of orders in the past for vegetarian, we identify you as a vegetarian user, we can feed that data into mParticle, and mParticle is going to sync it into Google Ads and into Iterable, right? So we can communicate to you in real time. You visit the restaurant, we can put maybe a sensor in the restaurant, right? That identifies you somehow. I don't know why, but how, but yeah. So we can have this kind of stuff, right? Now we are working very closely with the marketing teams, basically drafting the whole campaigns that we want to run. Most of the campaigns now they have this real time in the as the first thing, right? We're talking now about events. Before it was just about attributes of our customers, right? But now we are talking about what do they do with us? You know, they redeem a reward, they get a chili, right? Maybe they have a complaint on Zendesk. Maybe we can use that data to drive those things. So this is where we are at. I'm not going to send too much information about that because you may reject the push notification or whatever. But it's more about meaningful communications with our customers. One thing we want to do as well is use the data that we calculate in the data warehouse, LTV of our customers, the banding, and all that. We think is the right tool for the job, and we want to use the right tool for the job, right? As mentioned earlier by Simon, you can buy a tool that does everything. It's very fancy, but you are not going to end up using most of it, right? And you're going to be paying a lot. So it's very, very important from my point of view, from my previous experience with Salesforce, with other companies, to use the right tool for the job and try to utilize as much as possible if you have an engineering team, right? To do the rest or to tweak the bits that you need. So in this case, we're using those calculations in BigQuery, LTV, banding of our customer, propensity to buy, I know, a vegetarian dish, synchronize that with mParticle, and make that data operational, right? So let's say you make an order, we identify you as a vegetarian, and you're going to receive a push notification talking about the other products, right? Maybe telling you about any vegetarian dish that we have. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we are willing to do now in the next few months, really closely. We're almost there. It's just a matter of talking to the marketing team. What do you guys want to do? But the data is in the right place. Just now.
Thank you. Simon, what's on the horizon for RA?
Cool. So with RA, I guess the place we're in now is we've got Mixpanel up and running. So we now know who reads the editorial and doesn't buy tickets, and it's very likely they probably want to, and vice versa, who buys tickets and doesn't read the editorial, because if you're going to parties, you probably want to read about people who are playing at them. So we're already starting to activate a lot of campaigns there. Some of the really kind of low-hanging fruit, banner baskets, promotional, personalised emails. But it then starts getting really exciting with things like we've got an app. You buy tickets, you might be near Fabric, which is just around the corner here, on a night out, and we know that you have, you like a couple of artists, we can ping you and go, hey, don't forget these guys are playing in this room at this time, like doing small things that are quite cool for the user and that they kind of really appreciate. Being a ticketing outlet is not particularly glamorous, which is why we're not just a ticketing outlet, we try and do all the other things as well so that people want to come back and use our product. So what this kind of stack enables us to do is do these little interactions that are very personal to people that make them go, oh, these guys actually know that they get it. And we're already finding a bit of an increase there, which is great.
Cool. Thanks, Simon. What about yourself, Adam? I mean, Spurs is all about fan experience. What strategies are top of your list for this year?
Cool. So I won't go too much into the data side of it. I guess give a heads up as to kind of what's coming for the fans. Obviously, we have the most technologically, if not top 3 technologically advanced stadium in the world, Multiverse stadium. We get a lot of data obviously from the NFL as well, and this tech stack is going to allow us to be able to power data that we've had access to, but not been able to actually drive any interactions from. So we're talking about beacon data when you get off the tube, the Seven Sisters or White Hart Lane. we'll get a flag. If you've got the app, we'll know where you are. Or then be able to use Mixpanel to see how long it then takes you to get into the stadium, right? When you tap your fortress, we can monitor lag. We can try and change fan behaviours, try and get them into the stadium earlier. It's actually cheaper to buy beer in the stadium than it is outside the stadium, but 25-year-old fans, 25 season ticket holders who've been there for 25 years have their rituals, so it's very hard to change that. But we'll be able to use that beacon data, that fortress data. When you tap your phone, when you buy a beer, we'll get the food and beverage data from the EPOS. So similar to what Miguel said, we'll be able to start to understand that if you've gone in with your son and you've bought 2 beers and not bought a snack pack, that you're a terrible father. But also, why don't we give you a snack pack at half time? Why don't we, there are activations that we'll be able to do to encourage your engagement, in stadium, on a match day, try and keep you there longer. We do a lot of work with charities to give food away to kind of that's unused to the local community, but obviously perishable goods you can't. So as the games approach the end, if we're winning and it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday, we can start to target you with that pushes to say, hey, buy another 2 pints and get a free pizza with your mate. Like, we can start to really encourage. I mean, the word loyalty in football is a tough one. It's not one that I like to use, but every fan thinks they're as loyal as the other. So, instead of it being a commercial entity, we should be able to push our version of loyalty to fans to reward them for being a season ticket holder, to reward them to buying a match. It's the first time you go to the stadium, and you've got the app and you tap in, welcome to the stadium, here's a beer on us. Like, those kind of messages is kind of what's coming. Having that stadium, having that technology that we now have access to with these partners is unbelievably powerful. And obviously, globally as well, there are things that we can do. Abandoned baskets, behavioural emails, and behavioural push that we can do as well. Obviously, they're commercial. It is, loyalty and memberships as a proposition is something that we're looking at in general. And we need that data to be able to power what the future of that looks like. But if any of you go to your first game next season and don't get a push notification, then Jason's email address will follow after this. But so there's lots of cool stuff to come, and all that is being powered by kind of the mParticle Mixpanel sort of relationship that we're going to be having, that we have now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. No, thank you very much for that. I think that's all we've got time for today. So thank you very much for sharing your stories about your journeys and what you're using the stack for. I think we're going to now break into our roundtable groups. So I think, they're the groups. So I think, we need to go. So with that, I'd like to say, thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you.